everyone. Megan Olivi here. Thank you so much for joining our Crypto.com live AMA. Today we have a really special guest. He is one of the best fighters on the planet Earth, a philanthropist, and an actor now. Please join me in welcoming Kamaru Usman.
Hello. Thanks.
Hello.
It's good to see you again.
Great to see you. I love the Crypto.com hat.
You know, I didn't plan this. I did not plan it. I was going shopping today and I just grabbed something quickly and it just worked out.
It worked out beautifully. Kamaru, for those who might be living under a rock, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us how you got started in MMA.
Well, my spiel is I started wrestling actually in high school. Started wrestling my sophomore year. I really started competing in high school and got through high school and I just felt like I wasn't done. I wanted more. I was hooked. So I went to college, bounced around two different colleges till I found my stride at University of Nebraska at Kearney. And there I became a three-time All-American, two-time finalist, and national champion my senior year. And then after that, I wasn't done. I wanted more. I started training for the Olympics. And I didn't make the Olympic team in 2012, and I wasn't done. And I decided, what else could I do that I could still utilize my wrestling skills and make some money? And so waited out, either go boxing or do MMA. And I decided, let's try MMA. And, you know, I hit the ground running in 2010, and 12 years later, here I am.
And man, did it work out for you. I mean, as you're telling that background story, the thing that stands out to me is your own motivation. You kept saying, I wasn't done. I wasn't done.
Yeah.
How did you grow up? I mean, were you always motivated like that?
Um, I think so, but you just really don't, you're not able to recognize it at certain times in your life. When you're growing up, you're just worried about, okay, who I'm gonna hang out with next week, my friends, which what are we gonna do, turning in this math homework and certain things like that. That's all you're concerned about. And it wasn't until I started to become a young man in high school to where I started to kind of figure out what I wanted. And it took me until I believe the summer, my junior year, that summer after that is when I really found, I really had found some conviction in myself, with what I wanted to do and how I needed to get it done. I think that was a summer that really changed my life because I made a conscious decision that I wanted to be good at something. And I started to put all the work, all the pieces together around it in order to make sure that that was the plan. So ever since then, it was kind of rinse and repeat in everything that I wanted. If I wanted to be the best in the world at this, all right, we got to do this work to get there.
When you say the summer of your junior year, was there a catalyst for that change or that spark in your mind?
Yes, I had my best friend at the time, Aaron. We were both wrestlers. We both went to middle school together. Both came to high school. We were like thick as thieves. We were together everywhere. And he decided he wanted to wrestle, and I never heard of wrestling before. So we start wrestling, and he just was more dedicated into it. He was doing it more, and he just took off. And so now it's me and my boy. We're around the same size, and I can't have him whooping up on me. And so he just was progressing a lot faster. He was getting a lot better, and he bought into it before I did. And that junior year, he was a state runner up, and I didn't even make it to state. And so it was that summer we were doing a camp, a summer team camp for Team Texas. And while we were at camp, I just was thinking the whole summer, I want to be, he was state runner up. I need to get up on that podium. I got to one up that. So I got to be state champion next year. And that's all I was thinking. And we were at camp. And while we were at camp, we were there, I think maybe a total of maybe 8 days. And while we were at camp, I was thinking, okay, we wake up in the morning, we have practice at probably 10 a.m. What could I do to prepare me for practice before practice? And I was like, okay, I should go for a run. I see some of the best wrestlers in the world. They go for runs and things like that. Let me try to go for a run. So I woke him up and I asked him, "Hey, you want to go for a run with me?" And he was like, "I'm tired," but he got up and he went with me. And then the next day, I woke him up again. "Hey, you want to go for a run with me?" And I think he went with me. And then the next day, I woke him up again, and he was like, no, I don't want to go today." And so at that point, I had to make a decision. Either I go by myself or I skip the run for that day. But I knew where I wanted to be. I want to be I want to be good. So he's already good. He's a state runner up. No, I'm gonna go for the run. So I went by myself. And then the next day I went by myself. And the next day I didn't even ask him. I just started going by myself. And right there at that moment, I made a decision that I was not gonna wait for anybody. I don't care if anybody was watching me. I don't care what was going on. But if I wanted to be great at something, I have to step up to the plate and I have to put the work in to get it. And I did.
That is such a champion mentality, and one that's rare. I mean, is that the sort of approach you took to your MMA career as well that has led you to be literally one of the best the sport has ever seen?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, everything else after that moment was rinse and repeat. Um, when I wanted to be national champion in college, same thing, rinse and repeat. And when I got into MMA, I felt like I was behind. I felt like because learning the mechanics of how to throw punches is not easy, especially when you're a wrestler. And so I I basically was in my head, I was always thinking, how am I going to close the gap on these guys that have been doing this for years? And the only thing that would come to my mind would be like, okay, you want to close the gap. Everybody trains this many hours in a day. Everybody's doing this. So you have to do more than everybody if you want to close that gap as fast as you want. And so it was just that I had to do. The thing is, I can't expect different results from everybody else if I'm doing the same thing as everybody else. And that right there, that just that quote was the, basically just my food for thought every time when I got up, every day that I got up to go to training. That right there was my food for thought.
Do you still approach training to this day with that same mentality?
I do, but it's a lot difficult now. You're a little bit older now. You're 10 years older than when you were when you started. And the body has definitely seen some miles. So now it's still the same, that similar approach, but now it's when you're 25, you're not as smart as when you're 35. And some of the things that I did at 25, I just can't do now. I mean, physically, my body can't do. So now it's a matter of being smarter with what you're doing as opposed to just being harder with what you're doing.
No, makes a ton of sense. I need to know, where did the Nigerian Nightmare nickname originate? Because we've known that, as your moniker for so long, but where did you get that?
It's crazy. I've been asked this a few times, but it's that nickname was kind of a nickname that since I was a child, I've been hearing that nickname, and that was because it was a nickname that any Nigerian born athlete that was excelling in their profession anywhere, any sport in the world, that was a nickname that they carried on. It was like carrying the flag of your country on your shoulders. And that was a nickname that described them. Whether it was a football player, that was a nickname that described them. Whether it was a basketball player, that was the nickname. If they were the best in the world at what they were doing at that time, that was what described them. We've had NFL football players. Christian Okoye, at that time, he was a problem for anybody to tackle, to bring down. So that was his nickname. And then we had a WBC heavyweight boxing champion of the world, Samuel Peters. That was his nickname. And I remember hearing it as a child. There's a few football, soccer players that was their nickname. And when I was growing up, I heard that nickname, and I was just like, man, that is such a cool nickname. And I was like, man, if I ever played some type of sport and I got good enough to where I could carry and wear that nickname, I would do it proud. And I found MMA. But if I and that was the thing when I was leaving the Olympic Training Center in 2012, it was like boxing or MMA. If I'd have went boxing, there was no way I was gonna use the nickname because they've already been one, a Nigerian
Sure.
Nightmare. So I went into MMA. I'm like, wow, no one has this nickname. That's what I want. And and that was the nickname. I started using it, and it brings me so much joy, and it's like literally me carrying that country's flag on my shoulders each and every time I go out. And the two famous Nigerian nightmares that I know, which was Samuel Peters and Christian Okoye, which were basically idols. I got the chance to be able to connect with them before my fight with Tyron Woodley, and they were actually present in Vegas for my fight with Tyron Woodley, both of them. So
Wow.
it was a fantastic night for me.
Yeah, a fantastic night, and you do such a fantastic job of carrying that nickname and all that comes with it. We talk about the nickname, and that's obviously a big point of pride, but something that was a more recent point of pride was the fact that you were able to be involved with Black Panther Wakanda Forever. You and I spoke about it a little bit in New York City earlier this year, but can you just tell us what that experience was like? You compete at the highest level, and now you're involved in something so different, but still at the highest level.
Yeah, it's I remember being on set the first week and speaking with the director Ryan Coogler. Ryan is such what an amazing director, amazing person as well. And speaking with him on set, and he asked me, "Is this your first movie?" I was like, "Yeah, it's my first one." He's like, "What a first one to start off on." I mean, to jump into the acting business and start at the very top was it was extremely humbling being on set with such amazing actors and actresses, just amazing professionals. It was eye opening. It definitely showed me how difficult that job is because we all watch movies and we're at home and we're like, I could do that. I could act. I could do that. But then when you're on set and you see how difficult this is, it's newfound respect I got for that profession. But it was. I remember me and my daughter watching Black Panther. We've seen it over the first one over 30 times, and I always remember saying, "Okay, I'm gonna be in that movie. When I get the opportunity, I'm gonna be in that movie. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make it happen." And I spoke it into existence, and spoke with my manager. He reached out to a few of his contacts years ago, but the movie hasn't been. It was a few years in between the movies,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden we get the call that, hey, would you like to do this movie? I'm like, absolutely. I don't care who I have to beat up. I'm doing this movie. And I was ecstatic to be able to do the movie, and they asked me to send in a self tape, and I taped for some scenes and sent it in, and I got the part. And so, yeah, being in the movie was it was amazing. I mean, and then it just amazing for me to watch my daughter and my family actually get to see the movie. That's that will never. I don't think I will ever really wrap my mind around how that makes them feel. I mean, they've watched me fight few times, but doing that in that movie, I don't know. That's one that was very cool for me.
Oh my god, manifestation at its greatest there to be able to say, "I'm gonna do that," and then you did, and shout out to Ryan Coogler, also directed Creed, I
Yeah,
believe, and, obviously a big fight fan there.
amazing.
Are you gonna do more acting in your future? Did you get the bug?
Absolutely, will do more acting. I It's like I said, it's a lot harder than I thought, and so I'm kind of a perfectionist in certain ways. So there's some work that I need to do in order to make sure that every time I step in front of that camera, I'm doing the part, whatever part it is, I'm doing it justice. So there's going to be some work there, but definitely I want to I will definitely, now working doing the MCU, being part of the MCU, I definitely want to do more there. So we'll see. Your boy. Maybe a couple. There's a few Black Panthers, so maybe a couple. Movies down the line. If I
I
happen to
believe.
be in that slot, maybe.
I believe. Well, I think that's really incredible, and I love that you said they make it look so easy because I often think that that happens to you and other fighters where you guys are so good that you make it look so easy. So understanding, the difficulties of another profession at the highest level, I think is what makes you great. But speaking of professionals at the highest level, not sure if you saw, but yesterday, guy named LeBron James, he reshared your Born Brave clip and he used the caption "Strife for Greatness." Obviously, he thought it was great, and understanding of what you did with that crypto.com piece and the Born Brave clip there. What's it like for you to have other goats recognize what you're doing?
I mean, it means a lot. I mean, it's one of those things that, and even me myself, now when I want a little bit more inspiration in whatever I'm doing on the endeavor that I'm in, I love to look at what some of the best have done and what they're doing. Like Jordan, I've watched his documentaries and things like that. Um, and some of the other greats that have done it, the Wayne Gretzky, the Derek Jeter, the Alex Ross. I've seen pieces, Tiger Woods on them, and just their mindset and how they conduct themselves and how they work. And now being in a certain position to have some people recognize that, it means the world to me, and it means that I'm on the right path.
When you said in the piece, my relationship with hardship is that we're friends, I gasped. I was like, whoa, that's so deep to me. And I think it is so cerebral of you to think that way. Has that always been your attitude towards bumps in the road?
No, it has not always been that way. I think I believe I always, I guess in a sense, I was okay with it, but I didn't really to be able to actualize it and put it into words. I think that came right when I went into MMA, and Rashad Evans, who was my mentor, would always kind of say certain things, and he would say, "Yes, I made friends with the fear of fighting," and I certain things like that he would say, and then I had to really think about it, and I realized I have done that even in my wrestling career in college. I had to make friends with the feeling of the pain of running to your legs felt like they were pain. Make friends with the feeling of the pain of just training and working and bettering yourself. And then I was like, wow, that's actually what I've been doing for years, and that's how I need to approach it, and that's how I need to think about this. You have to make friends with that feeling, and once you do, it's no longer scary.
To me, that sort of rolls into the saying, fortune favors the brave. I mean, how do you really look at that particular notion and what does it mean to you?
Absolutely, that's exactly what that means, because without hardships is without hardships, then how do you know if something is good if there's not bad? If there's you never go through anything bad, how do you know when things are good? How do you know it's and I say this to my daughter sometimes, that like victory is it's so much sweeter when there's that adversity, where there's that hardships. And that's truly what it is. And in order for you to achieve that victory, you're gonna have to go through the hardships. So in order for you to get all the fortunes that come with the being victorious, hey, you have to be brave enough to go through the hardships. So 1000%, I'm a believer that fortune favors the brave, because if you ain't brave enough to go out there and try to get it, then hey, you just might miss that fortune.
Absolutely. And Kamaru, I've got to commend you because after UFC 278, you were immediately present. You were vocalizing things. You were posting on your social media your thoughts about the fight. You did media afterwards. That is not seen that often, and I know that it's got to take a ton of internal strength as well. For you, what type of, you know, strength did you have to have within your own self and that situation to be able to get out there and be vulnerable with the public that saw you in the highest of highs but also the lowest of lows?
Yeah, it was just kind of the place where I've been at for a while. My last two defenses, I believe, after the Masvidal 2 fight was like the last defense to where I was just like, hey, I'm here. I'm at a place where it's I'm just existing. I'm just a being, and I've been placed here for a higher purpose. I touch people all across the world that I don't know. I don't even see. Some don't even speak the same language that I speak, but I'm touching people all across the world. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And it makes me feel so good. And with that being said, it's not just about a belt for me. You know, to me to be able to done what I've done and the example that I'm setting for my child, that's what was more important to me. And of course, the world watches every time that I do something. And with that power, having that power over everyone, comes the responsibility. And when U2F 278 happened, I felt no different. Absolutely not. I had a responsibility because there's a lot of people that are going through a lot of different things, different situations in life each and every day, where they get knocked down or they get hurt or they get, and they feel destroyed by whatever they're going through. You only lose when you just stop. And so, boom, something happened, a setback happened, lost the title. It's not the end of the world. Got back up, and we continue with life. And the biggest one for me is once I fly back home on Monday, my daughter's got school. She's gonna tell me, Daddy, I'm ready for school. You gonna drop me off? She's gonna go to bed that night. She's gonna say what she says to me every night. You gonna tuck me in? And so she doesn't care what happened at that moment. And I think that was one of the biggest things that is just like that you can't run from it, you can't hide from it. Hey,
Dad Kamaru is amazing. And your dedication to your daughter and your family is really so beautiful as somebody who sees it both on camera in these conversations, but very much off camera and behind the scenes. You have to be commended for what a tremendous job you do with your daughter. I've got to tell you. But, in those scenarios where you're like, hey, I have a responsibility, how do you also manage the voices? Because as a public figure, regardless of what you do, or even if you're just a regular person, there's positive voices in your life. And unfortunately, in the way of the world, there's a lot of negative voices as well. How do you figure out how to tune some of them up, some of them down, and make sure you're listening to the ones that benefit you?
yeah, that's I think that's a struggle for anyone. Even the best athletes in the world, even Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, that's always been the thing, is those voices. And for some reason the negative ones scream a lot louder than the positive ones. But for me, it's just understanding that, especially in what I do, no one's gonna do it for me. At the end of the day, I have to be the one to get in there in that octagon, lock the cage door, and go to work. That's all me. And so if I'm not able to control my thoughts and what's going on in my head, then chances are, the chances of you being successful are very slim. And so it's just over time, just working at it. And which is why I'm very thankful for the sport that I started in with wrestling. Wrestling helped build that from the ground up, and MMA just helped solidify it. So I'm eternally grateful for these sports because they've given me a life skill that I'm going to be able to use in anything that I want to do in life.
I think that is so true, and a good message to all of those hopeful mixed martial artists out there that wrestling is such a great base for what they hope to accomplish as well. Kamaru, we have some AMA rapid fire lightning questions for you because I love your insight to so many of these questions, but also we wanted to have a little fun and get these one word answers. What comes to mind first? So,
All
all right,
right.
I'm going to ask some of these in different order. But aside from you, who's the greatest fighter of all time? Any sort of combat sport.
John Jones.
Love that. Knockout or submission?
Knockout.
Who's been your fiercest competitor?
Kobe Covington.
Favorite non-UFC athlete?
LeBron James.
I think that's a great answer. Okay, what about your favorite movie?
Favorite movie? Black Panther.
What's your favorite guilty pleasure?
Thai food.
Oh, okay. So
Oh,
tell
actually,
me.
fried Oreos.
Great answer. What's your go-to Thai order?
Chicken fried rice or chicken pad thai.
Mm, great. Okay. Now I'm starving. Is that also your favorite cheat meal, or do you have a different favorite cheat meal?
Yes, that's also my favorite cheat meal.
What do you eat before you fight? Because not a lot of people realize that you're not binging like crazy on Friday night. You are still kind of keeping it healthy. But what's your pre-fight meal?
Pre-fight meal is probably a full meal is going to be that night before that night of weigh-ins, and it's going to be a healthy, good bowl of pasta, gluten free, with marinara, just sauce that doesn't stick to the body and hold the body down and weigh the body down. Something that's gonna go through the body, but you get the nutrition facts from it. You get the carbs and you get all the salts that you need from that. So I would say that, and of course the breakfast in the morning of fight day. But usually in fight day I can't eat anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can't eat anything. Your stomach is in knots. You're about to get into a fist fight that night, so the
Listen,
body
you could
knows
fool
that, and
me.
it won't eat.
You always look so calm every time I see you before the fight. What is like the snack of your daughters that when she's not looking, you might steal a few?
Snack of hers, the chips, which are cheddar puffs.
Oh,
They're the sweet potato cheddar puffs. They're shout out to them. It's healthy.
I was just
I approve
gonna say.
of these chips. Yes,
I love
very
it.
healthy, and I approve of these.
I love it. Do you have a hidden talent or a talent that we wouldn't necessarily know about besides being one of the best fighters on the planet?
I used to play the trumpet, blow, but I just can't read the music anymore. But I used to play the trumpet pretty good actually.
I'm sorry, what?
I used
For how long?
to I maybe 4 years I played the trumpet for 4 or 5 years.
Okay. Okay. I will
Yeah.
be asking our producers to have a trumpet on hand for your next fight. That's amazing.
I can't I read music anymore, so it's gonna be very difficult now. I can't read music
Freestyle,
like
just a
that anymore.
freestyle. Okay, just a couple of more. What is the nickname your parents used to call you?
Um just who what did my mom say? My mom used to call, what did she call? I don't
Or
really
how did you
know.
know you were in trouble with your mom? Like, would she say your full name?
Yeah, she would just call me Kamaru. Like my mom used to call me Kamaru. But when I was young, when I was very young, I had a big gap in my teeth. in between my front two teeth, and so they used to call me open teeth. So yes, everybody used to call me that when I was
All
super
right.
young. Yes.
Okay, fair enough. What's your favorite vacation spot?
I don't really go on vacation much, but nowadays if I did within the country, I'm thinking somewhere in Colorado, and out of the country, I'm thinking either Morocco
Ooh.
or somewhere warm, maybe one of the islands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we move into the fan questions, I just want to ask, this isn't necessarily rapid fire, but because you've got such a beautiful relationship with your daughter, and I'm sure that you guys are going gung ho for the holidays. Do you have a favorite holiday tradition or thing that you two do together around the holidays?
Mm, Not really. Thanksgiving we like to go see my parents. So we indulge more in Thanksgiving. Christmas is just me buying too many things that I don't need that she probably doesn't need. That's pretty much Christmas for us. But that's about it.
I love it. All right, so now we're gonna move on to the fan questions. We got so many questions submitted, and I want to ask one of the major questions we got is about an injury rumor we had heard, and just your status, health status in terms of fighting again soon.
Well, I as I said, I stayed off of social media, so I it's just people call me and say something. This is going on. People are saying this. People are saying that. I cannot confirm nor deny any of that. Anything that's going on has been said or been heard. So I'm laying low. I'm stealthy these days. I'm just laying low until it's time for me to pop out.
What a stealth answer as well. Bravo to you for that. Okay, so moving on to specific questions. Oh, this is great. Asked, who are your top five all-time fighters? I know you mentioned John Jones, but who else really sits in that top five for you?
John Jones, George St. Pierre. Um, I would say Anderson Silva. I would say Demetrius Johnson. And I would say Randy Couture.
Oh, I love that. All right. What about from Mystic Black MMA, who is a great MMA journalist in his own right? What was an important lesson you talked to your daughter about after the last fight?
We could get knocked down sometimes, but we don't stop there. We get up and we keep moving. We keep trying until we get to where we want to get to. So one day I will be able to say, "Remember what I told you?" That's how you do it.
Absolutely. And you're living by that example. You don't have to answer this one if you don't want to, but we did get this one a few times as well. Thoughts on Hamzat Shimaev and just his future in the sport or where he's at right now?
He's doing a great job right now. I mean, I think he's an incredible prospect right now, and I mean, you could even say contender. You know, um, he's doing a great job. He's done a great job with his opposition, what he's been presented, and you know, time will tell if he is amongst the greats one day. But he's definitely showing the signs of being, one of the best.
Very cool. Slolomsky, I'm sorry if I'm butchering all these usernames. 18 asks, how do you get into the zone before you fight?
It's a weird thing. It took time, but it's a weird thing for your body to understand and know that it's about to be in danger. And when your body is about to be in danger, it's like cornering a cat. They react sometimes. And so it's taking years to be able to hone that, to be able to control that feeling to where you're not in fight or flight mode, but learn how to just channel it and use it when it's necessary. So I usually in the back, I know what I talk to myself a lot in my head. not necessarily out loud, but I talk to myself a lot in my head, and I've been able to just calm myself, put myself in a certain state, and just let the body react after that.
Do you have any pre-fight rituals?
Yes, I actually do. Um, not many people have noticed, but when I warm up for my fights, it's the same exact routine. I'm a creature of routine. I'm a creature of habit. It's the same routine. It's might be the same warm up shirt. I put my fighting shorts on at a similar time before every fight. I put the jersey on at a similar time before every fight. I put my top on, the jacket on, similar time before every fight. When I walk out, my hat is on, my hoodie is on. It's just a habit. It's not, and this is the thing for me. It's not superstition in a sense, because there's a fine line between the two. But this is just a habit. Once I'm checking off those things, those habits, then I know that the chances of me not being successful are very slim, because I've gone through my routine to prepare me the best way possible.
Are you a guy that sleeps in the locker room before your fight, or are you a guy that's amped up? Because it's always astounding to me when people are hardcore napping like an hour and a half before they fight. I would be so nervous.
It's I you but it's I've tried it, and it just doesn't work out. It's not a restful sleep at all. Your body, your mind knows that it's about to be in danger in a few hours, so it's not restful. You're just there, tired, and that's one of the biggest things that I've learned. When your body knows it's about to be in danger, it's secreting a certain hormone that is just like, if you've watched most fighters, they're getting their hands wrapped. They look like they haven't slept in 2, 3 days. Your body's just drained. You're tired. I'm falling asleep getting my hands wrapped sometimes, but it's just part of it, and it's part of the journey, and what makes it so addicting. Being able to control all of that and turn it on, turn the engine on, and get ready to go out there and put on a performance.
It is something a chosen few can only do. And Kamaru, you are one of the best to ever do it. Thank you so much for your time for this crypto.com AMA. We appreciate it so much. You've been so generous with your answers. And it's always just such a privilege and an honor to speak to you and to see you. I hope that you have a great holiday with your daughter. And we appreciate it as
Thank
always.
you.
Again, love the crypto.com hat.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. And thanks to everyone for tuning in. We will see you again soon.